In April 1975, when Beverly Sills finally stepped onto the stage of the Metropolitan Opera in New York, it was a moment that seemed long overdue. For more than 2 decades, she had been one of the most celebrated sopranos in the world, beloved by audiences for her shimmering voice, dazzling technique, and radiant personality. Yet despite her enormous fame and critical acclaim, she had never sung at the Met until she was 46 years old. Her debut in Rossini's The Siege of Corinth was a triumph, earning thunderous applause and nearly 20 minutes of curtain calls. But the excitement of the evening could not erase the question that lingered in the minds of music lovers everywhere. Why had Beverly Sills' Metropolitan Opera debut been delayed for so long? To understand the rumors and resentment surrounding her absence from the Met, one must look back at her career. Born Belle Miriam Silverman in Brooklyn in 1929, Sills was a prodigy who began singing on the radio as a child. Her rise through the American opera scene was steady, but hard-won. She joined the New York City Opera in the early 1950s, at a time when that company was considered the scrappy younger sibling to the more prestigious Metropolitan Opera. At City Opera, she built her reputation from the ground up, dazzling audiences with her performances in Lucia di Lammermoor, Manon, and especially as Cleopatra in Handel's Julius Caesar. Her interpretations were notable for their emotional immediacy and technical brilliance, and by the 1960s, she had become the face of American opera, accessible, charismatic, and distinctly homegrown. While Sills' fame grew, the Metropolitan Opera maintained its air of exclusivity. Under general manager Rudolph Bing, the Met was dominated by European singers and conductors. Bing favored the great international stars of his generation, Maria Callas, Renata Tebaldi, Birgit Nilsson, and though he occasionally cast American artists, the company's hierarchy still leaned heavily toward Europe. Sills' success at the New York City Opera, however, made her impossible to ignore. Her recordings and television appearances brought opera into American living rooms, turning her into a national celebrity at a time when most opera singers were known only to connoisseurs. It was therefore shocking to many that she never appeared at the Met during Bing's tenure. Sills herself hinted, both in interviews and her memoirs, that Bing did not believe she belonged there. She suggested that he dismissed her as a girl from Brooklyn, unfit to represent the aristocratic ideal of opera that the Met cultivated. Whether Bing's reluctance stemmed from snobbery, personal dislike, or simple artistic preference is still debated. But Sills' exclusion became one of the most talked-about mysteries in the classical music world. The public began to suspect that there was more than professional reasoning behind her absence, that it was a feud rooted in pride and prejudice. By the late 1960s, the situation had taken on symbolic weight. The New York City Opera, once considered second-rate, had become a formidable company in its own right, largely because of Sills. She was its brightest star, and she remained loyal to it even as offers came from La Scala, Covent Garden, and the Vienna State Opera. Some observers believe that Sills' loyalty to City Opera and its mission to bring opera to the American public at affordable prices made her an unintentional rival to the Met. Her popularity helped elevate City Opera's status, and this quiet competition between the two houses may have deepened the perceived rift. When Rudolph Bing retired in 1972, there was hope that the long-standing wall between Sills and the Met would finally crumble. The new management, aware of the public's affection for her, moved quickly to invite her. Her long-awaited debut was set for 1975 in a production that could highlight her artistry and serve as a celebration rather than an introduction. The choice of Rossini's The Siege of Corinth was deliberate, a rarely performed work that would allow her coloratura, brilliance to shine and give her the grand entrance she deserved. The night of her debut was electric. Fans traveled from across the country, and the press treated it like a national event. When Sills appeared on stage, the audience erupted in cheers before she had sung a note. Critics praised her artistry, noting how gracefully she conquered the difficult score and how easily she filled the enormous house with her vibrant sound. For Sills, the evening was both a victory and a vindication. After years of speculation, she had proven beyond doubt that she belonged at the Met as much as any of its European luminaries. In later interviews, Sills spoke about the delay with a mixture of amusement and resignation. She rarely attacked Bing outright, preferring to suggest that the decision had been a mistake rather than an act of malice. Yet she also acknowledged that the slight had hurt her deeply at the time. She had worked tirelessly to prove that an American singer could achieve international stature without the Met's blessing, and perhaps that independence was what ultimately defined her career. The long wait may have been frustrating, but it also allowed her to arrive at the Met on her own terms, as a fully formed artist with a devoted following. Still, the rumors of a feud never completely disappeared. Opera fans love drama, and the idea of a power struggle between the elegant Bing and the outspoken Sills became part of the mythology of American opera. Over time, historians have softened the narrative, suggesting that practical factors also played a role. The Met had its own artistic agendas, and Sills was often booked years in advance with other commitments. Moreover, her repertoire leaned heavily toward roles that the Met performed less frequently during Bing's leadership. There may have been no single cause, but rather a series of missed opportunities that hardened into mutual distance. Ironically, once she joined the Met, Sills became one of its most admired figures. After retiring from singing in 1980, she eventually served as the chairwoman of the Metropolitan Opera and later as the president of Lincoln Center, overseeing the very institution that had once hesitated to welcome her. Her administrative career was marked by the same intelligence and warmth that characterized her performances, and she used her position to support young American singers, artists who might otherwise have faced the same barriers she once encountered. Looking back, the so-called Met Feud reveals as much about the cultural attitudes of its era as it does about Sills herself. In the mid-20th century, American opera was still struggling for recognition on its own terms. European singers and traditions were seen as the gold standard, and the idea that a Brooklyn-born soprano could rival the great divas of Milan or Vienna was, to some, almost unthinkable. Sills shattered that assumption. By the time she finally sang at the Met, she had already become a symbol of American artistry. Proof that talent, charisma, and perseverance could overcome even the most entrenched biases. Her debut may have come late, but it came at precisely the right moment. The audience's outpouring of love that night was not just for her voice, but for what she represented, the triumph of dedication over politics and of merit over prejudice. The rumors and feuds that once surrounded her only underscore how much she had to overcome to reach that stage. In the end, Beverly Sills' story is less about the delay itself and more about her grace in enduring it. She turned exclusion into independence, disappointment into determination, and when the curtain finally rose at the Met, she sang not just as an artist reclaiming her due, but as a pioneer who had already changed the landscape of American opera forever.